Topic 1. Trump's tariffs and trade policies are causing economic uncertainty and legal challenges. Donald Trump's tariffs and trade policies are creating economic uncertainty and legal issues. His tariff policies are affecting the stock prices of major corporations like Apple, which in turn impacts retirement assets for Americans, such as 401k plans. Apple, heavily reliant on international supply chains, faces volatility due to Trump's tariff threats. Retailers are considering price increases, with some already implementing them. Trump announced plans to double tariffs on steel imports to 50% to protect the U.S. steel industry, but these policies are increasing economic uncertainty, leading some companies to adjust or withdraw their annual guidance. Additionally, Trump's policies face legal challenges, with federal trade courts invalidating some tariffs, only for appeals courts to restore them, creating ongoing confusion. This situation complicates supply chain planning for businesses and raises the likelihood of price increases for consumers. Topic 2. The U.S. plans to double steel and aluminum tariffs, affecting international trade and companies like Gap and Volkswagen. The U.S. plans to double tariffs on imported steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%, impacting international trade and putting pressure on the steel industry. While companies like Cleveland-Cliffs see stock price surges, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce criticizes the tariff increase. The European Union has also expressed regret over the U.S. tariff hike and is preparing countermeasures. This tariff policy affects various companies, with Gap warning that tariffs will pressure its profits this year, prompting efforts to diversify its supply chain and invest in U.S. cotton. Gap stock fell 20% in early trading. Volkswagen plans to increase investments in the U.S. and describes tariff negotiations with the U.S. government as fair and constructive. The tariff increase is expected to affect consumer prices, with several major retailers already raising or planning to raise prices, potentially burdening consumers. Economists warn that tariffs could trigger inflation, with many companies likely to pass on the costs to consumers. Topic 3. Jamie Dimon emphasizes internal threats over international ones, highlighting domestic issues as more significant than China. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JPMorgan Chase, emphasizes that the U.S. should focus more on internal issues than on its relationship with China. Speaking at the Reagan National Economic Forum, he mentioned China as a potential adversary, but stressed the importance of addressing U.S. values, capabilities, and governance. Dimon pointed out the need to improve management issues, including permits, regulations, immigration, taxes, education, and healthcare. He believes that resolving these issues could enable the U.S. economy to grow at an annual rate of 3%. Furthermore, Dimon highlighted that to maintain global economic leadership in the long term, the U.S. needs advancements not only in economic growth, but also in defense and other areas. Topic 4. PBS and NPR challenge funding cuts, reflecting political and legal tensions. PBS and NPR have initiated legal action against President Trump's order to cut funding for public broadcasting. PBS argues that Trump's executive order violates the First Amendment and the Administrative Procedure Act, requesting a federal court in Washington, D.C. to confirm the unconstitutionality of the order and prevent funding cuts. NPR has filed a similar lawsuit, warning that some smaller stations could cease broadcasting if federal funding is cut. Trump has accused public broadcasting of political bias and is pushing for funding cuts, but PBS and NPR strongly refute these claims. This lawsuit is part of a legal battle to protect the editorial independence of public broadcasting and prevent political interference. Topic 5. China's rare earth export restrictions could impact global car production. Concerns are rising that China's restrictions on rare earth exports